Rockaways Productions presents The Casey Waters Show, episode 516, Association and Synergy. Hello, I'm your host, Casey Waters. Today, I will continue with My Big Toe by Thomas Campbell. Here, the author looks at the nature of consciousness and reality. Then, it's on to association and synergy. Here, I look at how personal analysis and networking can lead to synergistic effects of various sorts. Well, now I have Freya with me. I don't know if she's in camera range. Maybe you saw her tail a few seconds ago. Anyway, today's show will feature background footage from Water Rock Knob. Water Rock Knob is located along the Blue Ridge Parkway between Waynesville and Maggie Valley. The elevation of the summit is over 6,000 feet. This is the first time I've been able to make it to a high summit since Hurricane Helene hit western North Carolina in fall of 2024. So I had to wait about 6 months. But gee, it's wonderful. Spectacular views and great hiking. So now let's continue with My Big Toe by Thomas Campbell. Now let's go to page 810 of My Big Toe by Thomas Campbell. Your intent reflects the quality of your being and drives your choices. It is learning and personal growth that eventually enable you to make the right choices for the right reasons, naturally and intuitively. Every day of every year, we are forced to make hundreds of significant choices as we interact with others. We express ourselves with choice. We paint ourselves onto the canvas of the actualized present with brushes of intent and pigments of choice. We juggle 1,000 shades of competing need, fear, ego, desire, understanding, compassion, humility, caring, and love, in a swirling mix of contradiction until it all coalesces into a single result that is actualized into the present irreversible reality by the choices we make. We are the sum total of those choices made over a lifetime, or a series of lifetimes. The substance of our being and the rate of our growth are defined by the quality of our choices. Now let's go to page 817, continuing on to page 818 of My Big Toe by Thomas Campbell. To help you answer these questions, I have offered you a unified theory of existence and reality, a comprehensive toe, and a reasonably detailed model of reality mechanics based upon my own carefully evaluated explorations of the larger reality. The extent to which you have actually absorbed useful understanding at a deep level has at least as much, if not more, to do with you, your beliefs, and your experience than it has to do with the correctness of my big picture theory of everything. Think about that. Read that last sentence again. Your consciousness, its quality, your awareness, and your reality are intertwined in the big picture. Their apparent separateness as independent entities is a PMR based illusion that helps you maintain your focus on the basic things that you need to learn first. Now it is time for association and synergy. Now, I do have a purring cat next to me, Freya, so her purring may be picked up by the microphone. So, I look at personal analysis and association, networking, and how that could lead to synergistic effects. So, let's start with personal analysis. You have to have things right in your head. You have to have the right frame of reference in order to properly begin networking and finding synergistic effects. So, in order to organize people and try to set goals for them or suggest goals for them or help people with their goals, well, how about helping yourself? Start off small and then go to something bigger. By knowing how to set your own goals and accomplish them, you could help other people do the same. It might not be as hard as you think. Sometimes people don't approach it quite the right way. And even my way might not be the best way. It's just the way I do it. I guess it all comes from, or some of it comes from, marginal autism. With my marginal autism, well, I like being alone. I enjoy it. And that's because I could come up with good thoughts in my head as far as organizing, planning, analyzing, and even entertaining myself. Sure, I could do it all. Probably much more. It's nice to be able to self-entertain and not be dependent on other people. But I'm only marginally autistic, so I do depend on other people too. Kind of caught in the middle of both worlds of being social and enjoying being alone. I guess severely autistic people might despise socializing and prefer to remain alone almost all the time. That would be my guess. Of course, it probably varies case by case. Anyway, so with my time alone and being to myself and entertaining and analyzing myself and planning, well, what do I come up with? I come up with OM. Well, no, not the mantra. OM, organized meditation. So this is a little bit different than traditional meditation. It's organized meditation. Well, organized how? Well, this is how. You think to yourself, oh, I got so much to do. I want to be able to organize what I have to do and distill it down to just a few items that are the most important to do on that given day. Well, how can you do it and not leave anything out? Well, I guess it's impossible to do it perfectly all the time, and things do get left out, obviously. But let's try to minimize it. Well, how do you do that? Well, first of all, you need some time. So when it's slow and you got lots of time, you just think to yourself, what are the most common things you do? Think about common activities. If you're a parent, it might be helping the kids get ready for school, perhaps packing their lunches. If you're a student, it might be doing homework and doing other things to get ready for school. If you're working, well, there might be work related items. If you're in a relationship, well, things you need to do for your family and your relationship, and so on and so on. You think of your personal situation and you think of the things you commonly do, such as watering the plants, feeding the cats, feeding the dogs, feeding the fish, maybe cleaning the fish tank or the bird cage, perhaps washing the car, perhaps mowing the grass, doing the laundry or the dishes. As I said, maybe work related items, relationship related items, church related items, whatever. Think of all the stuff you commonly do. Reaching out to family and friends. Well, if you do that regularly, well, that's important too. So you list them all. Well, with me, it was 14 items, but it wasn't so simple. Some of the items are very simple, perhaps containing just a couple of things. Others, such as number 2, well, 2 is too complex. That's what it's called. And it is too complex. So it's the number 2 followed by complex and also TO, complex. It's just a complex mess of stuff. So if things don't fit into the other points, they go under too complex. I'm trying to think, how did it go? 1 was perhaps weather observations. 2 was too complex. What was 3? Maybe watering plants. 4, fish maintenance. 5 through 8 was turtle maintenance. I think 9 was health. 10 was entertainment. Maybe 11 through 14 had to do with weather observations too. I'm not quite sure. I don't use that system much. I used it more when I was around 14 years old. It took about 10 to 20 minutes to blast through everything and analyze everything, and perhaps coming typically with 3 to 5 items to do, which were important. Then I would focus on that and try to accomplish those during the rest of the day. Anyway, I have a similar thing that I do now, and I go through it and I come up with things that I need to do, such as finding the owner's manual for my ATV, and so on and so on. So, whatever you often do is on the list, such as paying bills, or picking up the kids from school, or whatever it might be. So you get organized with your organized meditation. That way you can find stuff to do. And that might include social things, such as organizing and even political activism, which might be called for in these times. In April of 2025, as Trump's tariffs loom over the economy and the crashing stock market. So, also, there's other things to do. So you have your organized meditation, you're figuring out what to do, you're organizing your thoughts. Also, perhaps aside from this, it's something to occasionally do. Usually I do this in my idle time when, I'll do my organized meditation, perhaps earlier in the day, figure out what to do. Then other random parts of the day, When I have time, I might analyze things like relationships and what to do with complex family dynamics. Then there's departure time. And so that's another little organized meditation thing. I don't know how many of y'all do it, but yeah, I got my departure checklist ready to go. What are the things you often need to take with you? It could be a water bottle for hiking, or the camera to film while hiking. It could be something you need to take the children to school. Similarly, there might be a departure checklist for vacation time. Do you got your airplane tickets? Do you got your cell phone? Do you have your itinerary? Do you have everything else you might need? Then there's departure checklists even for going to bed. Have you done everything? Have you turned off the lights, locked the door, made sure the cats and dogs are in, and anything else? All of this is important. Also, just doing nothing is important as well. Sure, it is important to understand, well, the importance of doing nothing, of just relaxing, of just kind of taking your time to absorb and understand what's around you and kind of, maybe understand your plans or family dynamics and other things. Well, now that you got yourself organized, well, what about the association? What about networking and synergy? Does it happen? Yeah, it does. Sure. And one of the examples I could give that I remember of kind of having a synergistic effect in a group of people, is kind of the crowd chain reaction phenomenon. I'm sure this manifests itself in many ways. Sometimes it can be very frightening and dangerous. Other times it might be fun and enjoyable. Well, this is one of the more fun examples. So I guess it was Philesh and friends playing at the Lock-In Festival. The festival has been going on 2 or 3 days, and I was very tired. Just hanging out watching concerts day after day. But anyway, so one of the popular songs Philesh and Friends does and the Grateful Dead used to do is Not Fade Away. And at the end of Not Fade Away, the crowd claps in a specific sequence. Kinda ba 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 ba, something like that. But anyway, so no one was doing it. The band had finished the song and walked off the stage, but no one was doing this special clapping. So I commented to it with a friend who I was with, and I didn't have much energy myself to start clapping, but they did. And then slowly other people started to clap. Well, actually caught on fairly quickly. And I guess within 10 seconds, we had a fair amount of people clapping. And we were doing it. So we caused a synergistic crowd reaction. So, what else is there? Well, we have to work with association. We have to work with associating with others, networking, learning from each other. Sure, this is important. This builds bonds of friendship and trust and can be useful for building friendships or building trust, especially amongst people who might not have much in common. Still, even though we might see things quite differently, we still could teach each other. Perhaps even talking about our controversial areas where we conflict. Perhaps they might understand a little bit of our perspective, and perhaps we could understand a little bit of their perspective if we listen to them. Sure. And perhaps more importantly, instead of dealing with the areas of controversy that might upset the person you're talking to, and vice versa, them talking to you about controversial things might upset you. You might have your disagreements, but you could put that aside and focus on other things, perhaps more mundane things, like how to jump a battery in a car, or, how to do laundry right, or where the best bike paths are in the neighborhood, or whatever it might be. Who's the best teachers at the school? You could talk to each other and learn from each other about things that you don't know about. Sure. So you could teach people by this and also learn by doing this too, just by associating. So you do both. You teach and you learn. And that's the way it should be. Working with each other. Learning from each other. Sure. And then there's kindness. Yeah, you could have kindness. You cultivate kindness through association. Sure, it might not be what you initially tend to do. I know. Often it isn't with me. Me, being busy and task orientated, with my organized meditation and everything. Well, sometimes I don't have time to organize in kindness, and sometimes I forget about it, or perhaps not even noticing people in distress. But sure, I guess we do need to notice them and help them out occasionally, sure. And so, through talking to neighbors or friends or co-workers, whoever it might be, as we associate and teach and learn, well, maybe there's a little cultivating of kindness. They might encourage you to do it, or perhaps you might encourage them to do it. So cultivate kindness and compassion. Don't cultivate hatred and division and prejudice. If you see that coming up, try to steer the conversation away from it. Or gently let the people know you're talking to that you're not into prejudice or fear or demagoguery or divisiveness. You would rather cooperate, work together, build bridges across cultures and diverse people so you can learn from each other and help each other out. Perhaps that's it, helping each other out. Perhaps emphasizing the side where you get the help. Sure. Because a lot of times you do. You get the help from these diverse people. people you might not even normally want to associate with, but there they are, rescuing you, and you have to thank them, perhaps even pay them. Sure, it happens to us all. So we need to do that. We need to cultivate this kindness instead of prejudice. Because it spreads. It's like there's the person you're associating with, but then there's like this third associate, this extra associate, someone you might not even know about. But perhaps your kindness causes the friend or co-worker, whoever you're being kind to and explaining how important kindness is, perhaps it'll rub off on them and they'll get a little kind. And then it will rub off on a third person you don't even know about. But perhaps that's where it might count the most, because their kind act might really save something or change something. Who knows? And then it could spread further beyond that, obviously. Perhaps spreading around the world. So yes, we need to be kind, and we need to educate each other. We need to be good at analytical thinking and rational approaches to things. We need to be practical so we can get things done. But it goes beyond that. For sure, you have your friends and people you may love. But what you might not know is that you have more friends than you do know. There's more people out there who could readily become friends with you. Perhaps who already admire you, and you don't even know it. Sure, it's happened to me before, so I'm assuming it probably happens to you.
Casey Waters Show. Producer, Casey Waters. Graphic editing, Judson Laird. Please note our new email address, CaseyWaters2 @CaseyWaters.com.